Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turning Point UK presents the Esther Krakue Show. Today I'm here with Mahyar Tousi, who I'm so excited to have on. He is the Conservative champion and has just reached 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, so give him a follow. But yeah, today I'm going to talk about all things conservatism and Mahyar Tousi. So let's get started. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I just want to know a bit more about sort of your background. So how did you even get into, what made you think of starting a YouTube channel and why conservative?
It was actually quite an accident.
Okay.
So obviously I've been in politics for about 10 years.
Okay.
I was the Conservative Party, doing a lot of stuff with the Brexit campaign. And a couple of years ago, so my background is Persian. I actually was born in Iran, came here with my mother as a political refugee and all that. And a couple of years ago, I was told that the Iranian government basically banned me from going back to Iran.
Did you know this?
Yeah.
That was surprised you.
Well, yeah, when I found out, I didn't mind because I didn't really want to go back anyway.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd just make a random rant video on my Facebook personal profile, personal page, and just made a video about that. I said, what's wrong with these people, ban me. And that went slightly viral. Some friends were like, actually, do more videos. So I started doing some random videos as a hobby about like a number of issues. And then about a year ago, less than a year ago, with the whole Brexit stuff and Theresa May messing up Brexit,
very passionate views about that one.
Yeah, so I moved to YouTube, and again as a hobby, but it actually it's like a snowball.
Yeah, it gained a lot of traction, especially because there weren't a lot of sort of British conservative YouTubers in that space, other than sort of the big ones.
So that's basically how it started, and it became big enough to actually for me to leave my normal job and actually do it as a full-time career. So.
Full-time career. Okay, so what's been the most the weirdest thing that's come from your sort of YouTube career? Weirdest thing that's happened to you? Maybe like a weird fan or just...
Every now and then. No, nothing weird. No, I don't know. Actually, there was one good story, which is... So when I went to the Tory conference in Manchester, so obviously there are a lot of members who might have like known me. They're like, oh, it's you, like, say hi, take pictures. But then we were leaving the conference area the last day, and obviously there's security everywhere. There's this massive police officer with a big gun. It's like, excuse me, mate, can you wait? I was like, oh God, what did I do now? And he was like, are you Mahyar Tousi? I watched your YouTube videos. He took a selfie with me. It was like, oh, that's
a guy with a massive gun. I just feel like, you can have anything you want.
I was like, just don't take anything. So that was actually quite a cool story, kind of seeing a lot of people from everywhere actually kind of watching this sort of things.
So, I mean, you said you've been sort of involved in politics for the last 10 years. I mean, how did you get started? Was it something that you did at college, or, where did that really come from, other than the fact that you did move to this country?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to my upbringing and my background. When you're from somewhere like Iran, you have to be automatically interested in current affairs and everything else because it affects your everyday life in those countries. So when I came here, and I wasn't political in that sense, not party political. So I got into politics before I got into party politics. So university was when I basically joined the Tories. But before that, I was like, reading a lot of right-wing economics books, like Ayn Rand, Milton Friedman, all that stuff, and Hayek. But yeah, university was when I got involved and actually made friends and did a lot of campaigning. And
as a Tory supporter, you made friends? Oh my gosh, it is possible, guys.
Yeah, I lost all my other friends, but...
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, so what was it about this sort of Conservative Party that kind of attracted you when you were in uni? Because you don't really hear that very often, that young uni students are kind of flocking towards the Conservative Party.
Well, I mean, considering my ideology or my values, it's just closer to the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party is not the perfect party for me. I don't think any party would be perfect for anyone. But,
yeah, exactly.
So I have a lot of issues with certain policies or certain things they do, but it's the closest. But what happened was, when I was growing up in Lewisham on a council estate, college and then university, it was the backlash. It was a reaction to what I was seeing from a lot of young people who are. And this was a Labour government anyway, but they were still complaining about the country and the government. Yeah. But then blaming it on the Tories, who weren't even in government, saying the Tories are evil, all this, all that. And so for me, it was about being the contrary to kind of the consensus. And so I got out there, did my own research, and actually realised, well, the Tories aren't evil. Again, they're not perfect, but it's just... And one story, just to finish this, is at university, my friend took me to a Labour Society drinks. Just come anyway.
Did all the girls have blue hair? Unshaved armpits?
all the guys, skinny jeans, glasses, everyone looked the same. But no, this was before I joined the Tories. So I walked in, And the first person came, oh, hey, what's your name? I was like, Mahyar. It's like, where are you from? I said, I'm London. It was like, no, where are you from? So I knew what he meant.
From? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, my background is Iranian and all that. And he turned around to the rest of the room saying, oh, hey, comrades, welcome to our new Persian brother, Mahyar. I was like, for God's sake, the patronizing thing.
He called you
a Persian brother.
Oh my gosh.
And then the next night, I went to a Tory society for the first time. Someone came to me, and I'm still friends with him. He said, hi, what's your name? Mahyar. The first question he asked was, did you watch the game last night, football?
Yeah.
No one cared where I was from or my skin color or any of that sort of stuff. We just gossiped.
Yeah. As you do. Guys gossip a lot, guys. You don't even know. True. They always say women gossip, guys gossip a lot.
Oh, we are mean girls, yeah.
I can imagine. So, I mean, what were they, so I suppose, the overarching ideals of the Conservative Party that kind of, like you said, they're not perfect,
no.
But, what were the sort of main ideals of the Conservative Party that did stand out for you?
I mean, generally speaking, they are the only party that is still closer to advocating for small government and big society and more people power. They don't really say people power because it's not really a conservative thing to say, apparently. But they try their best to promote aspiration rather than just handouts. But that's a cliche.
Yeah.
But for me, so I'm more of a classical liberal conservative. But at the same time, culturally, I'm very conservative in a way that I support the constitutional monarchy, family values, this sort of stuff. So actually, the Conservative Party is probably the only party that actually truly supports the system and everything we have. Yeah. Again, even the system is not a perfect system, but for this country and what we have, that's what's keeping us strong and stable.
And together, yeah.
Say.
I mean, and so what do you think, where do you think the Conservative Party actually stand in relation to actual conservatism? So how conservative is the Conservative Party?
Well, it depends what we mean by conservatism, because conservatism or conservative parties
sort of
different
branches of conservatism.
Yeah, and they're different in each country. So conservative parties in Europe, Western Europe are different, always in Europe, different to the British Conservative Party.
And definitely different to the American
Republican. I think the Conservative Party is not necessarily, it's not a new thing. People say, oh, over the last decade or so, the Tories have become less conservative. It's not the case. Yeah. It's just never been a full-on conservative with a small c. Because the name of the party is conservative, people always confuse that with the Tory party, let's just call it easier, is just there to, the main point of it is to exercise power and kind of maintain power. Yeah. But for the sake of duty and public service, for them it's about winning, get into power, then basically just do what's best, very pragmatic view. Yeah. There was a time, 200 years ago, 150 years ago, that the Tory party, in order to do that, they had to be very small c conservatives, social conservative, the party of church, and all that stuff. But that changed over time. So depending on the time, the Tory party changes. Yeah. The party used to be protectionist, anti-trade, then it became pro-free trade. Yeah. So it wasn't really pro-free market, and then Margaret Thatcher changed it to being pro-free market. And it does change. So I don't think we should compare the Tory party to a normal conservatism as a set of values. It's always been, this problem has always been there anyway. Yeah. But they have obviously a set of values that are conservative. Yeah. And as we said, in the supporting the system and responsibility, personal responsibility, family values, and Queen country flag, they still believe that. So they're still there.
Unlike some members of the Labour Party. Oh yeah. But the thing is, for me, what I find fascinating is I think a lot of I think Blair could have been in the Conservative Party now.
Yeah.
That for me is mind-blowing.
Conservative Party. Yeah.
I mean, I think Dominic Raab could have been in Blair's government when he came to power. It's very, I feel that the lines have been blurred with who is actually a true blue conservative, but at the same time, the divide, the gap is even wider in terms of left and right in this country. Mm-hmm. I mean, how do you think that happened? How do you think sort of conservatism in this country became a lot more diluted in terms of who's a true blue conservative, and the left, the political left just pushed it to the extreme, to the very far left, that we got sort of Momentum and the Corbynites and all these lunatics running around?
Well, yeah, I mean, firstly, in terms of the tribes, the red and blue, this is kind of, until recently, it was always normal in America, where you had like JFK, who was a Democrat, who was basically could have been in a Republican Party.
Yeah, exactly.
On the other hand, you have some people in the Republican who were so liberal they could be a Democrat. So that's always been in America anyway, and it's been a normal thing in America, even though it's very tribal, but it's still, you could see, technically speaking, his background, Donald Trump was a liberal New Yorker.
Exactly,
so he wasn't born a conservative in that sense. But in this country, I think what we saw what happened with Labour, especially over the last few years, is the same thing that happens. There's always a human cycle especially when it comes to politics and social issues. It's the same problem that we had in the 90s and 2000s with, for example, ordinary people not being able to talk about immigration or certain social issues. If you put a lid on it without kind of basically shutting it down, eventually it's going to implode and get out there. So the Labour Party with Blair, he didn't reform the party. He just put some makeup on it, kind of changed the face, but there were still ordinary members, the hardcore momentum type were always there. And eventually that exploded.
So you think the true Labour Party is what we're seeing right now? It's not sort of the Labour Party under Blair, who's very much more economically liberal, who's very much more about sort of a meritocratic society and all of that?
I mean, probably neither of them. If you were to say in terms of the initial establishment of the Labour Party, probably neither side were that. But the hardcore side is slightly closer. The only difference between the Corbynistas to the original Labour people was that the original Labour Party was still pro country, Queen, King, and actually some of them like Attlee pro-empire. But economically, they were still bloody crazy.
Very
so in terms of economic issues, yes, it's closer. The momentum type are closer to the old Labour.
So how do you think momentum kind of gained this resurgence? Because for me, momentum confuses me because they're very sort of middle class, almost London or urban young people, and they were so in favour of Corbyn's manifesto. I mean, even the whole renationalisation of virtually everything. And I just thought, you've just got out of uni. It doesn't matter if they scrap your uni debt because no one will hire you. So it's kind of like a net zero gain. You have no debt, but you're unemployed and virtually useless to the national economy. So I'm just baffled. How did momentum happen? In your opinion?
It's just years of training and activism. It's been going on since at least the 70s and 80s with the student campuses and the hard left, but they were always the minority. They were always, they still are technically, but they're just louder. But in terms of
with social media as well.
Well, yeah, but absolutely, that kind of helped them basically, because Corbyn, I always say Corbyn is not a politician in that sense. He's a student activist in the clothing of a politician. He's still the same person. But he was growing up and his activism went back in the 60s and 70s and all that. Whereas if he had the internet and social media, if they had it then, they might have been able to do something better. But it's just the mentality of the brainwashing, but the training and trying what works, what doesn't on the university campuses. Eventually, they succeeded within the Labour Party. That's just it. It's got nothing to do with the policies or values or any of that sort of stuff. It's just power. It's war.
I mean, do you see them getting very far? I think one of the things that stands out to me about momentum is very much there's no love of country there. And I know they say, oh, just because we criticize our country doesn't mean we don't love it. But there's simply no love of country. You don't want to fundamentally change something that you love. You don't put the fear of God, for lack of a better term, into a community of people that generally feel unsafe, like the Jewish community in this country. So, I mean, where do you see momentum and I guess the hard left in this country going, especially after Brexit and all the rest of it?
I don't think the ideology, the mentality will ever go away completely, because there's always a section of society in all countries that are like that, which is based on politics of envy and self-guilt. That's why, as you said, most of them are middle class, metropolitan types.
Exactly.
Because their parents are people like Emily Thornberry or Tony Blair or like these sort of kids. I know the kids basically rebel against their parents. They've had no fights. Why do we have a mansion and we have poor people? They don't understand how economics works, so they just see it like black and white. I don't blame the young people who get into this brainwashing mentality, but I judge when they get older. Again, as we say, we expect them to become more conservative or just more grown up. But when you see someone like Jeremy Corbyn at that age, I don't know, is he 70 or something? And he's still having the same issue.
Yeah, but people like Jeremy Corbyn are very much in the minority. They're in the minority of the minority because they're people, they're like that sort of 1% that have stuck to their views since the days of Methuselah. He's in the same camp as Bernie Sanders in the sense that he's actually very wealthy. He's had a very comfortable life. I think he's always been indoctrinated or been part of that sort of class struggle that he himself is part of. So he's the minority within the minority. I just don't understand how, I suppose, young people that are supposed to be the most educated, that have had the access to the most information, the most resources of any generation in human civilization, how they got to this point. I mean, how can you go to a Russell Group University and study economics and then say capitalism is evil? Are you mad?
Oh, that goes back to the fundamental problem, which is our education system, the school, before university. I had a friend who had have a friend.
No.
She's
That's a shock in itself.
Well, she's not talking to anymore because I'm too right wing. She was a teacher.
A former friend.
Former friend.
You have a looming acquaintance.
Yeah, she's a teacher at secondary school, and she was. I think that the actual subject of what she was doing was like something like history or geography, but part of a lesson.
Teaching or.
Well, yeah, something.
That was the subject she was teaching, history or geography.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
But part of one day, the lesson was to teach kids about capitalism and communism.
Must have been history.
And she didn't know, so she had to do research. By the way, a lot of secondary school teachers they have to learn like nights before the actual lessons.
Okay.
Instead of being specialists, you always expect your teachers
Yeah,
to be
because you'd
specialists.
imagine specialists would probably do different jobs.
but that's
I mean,
what
if you're a
they-
specialist, you don't want to be teaching teenagers.
No, and if they are, they go to independent schools.
Exactly.
But so what they have these resources, teachers, like websites and stuff where they can Google, say, okay, so how do I do capitalism and communism? and they just copy and paste it. These resources are very, very badly made because she got a game from it and with like marbles and stuff. And so gave
Capitalism marble game.
Yeah, well, they gave like 3 to one person, 5 to the other one, like 9 to the other one, 1 to one person, and then they did like a rock paper scissors. Obviously, it's gamble, but also odds. The one with one marble was more likely to lose than the 9. So eventually, the one with more marbles ended up winning most of them.
Yeah.
And then what the teacher was supposed to be doing is go around and ask, so you lost, you won. How do you feel? How do you feel? And how do you feel about winning?
She taught a lesson of basic.
Yeah,
economic
that's what they
systems.
do in classrooms. Like, and it's about the feeling, and capitalism apparently is about gambling. One person will lose, that one person will win.
You see, that's the thing. That's
wrong.
That's fundamentally incorrect.
Yeah, because capitalism is win-win because you voluntarily get into a trade and transaction. No one's forcing you to like pay someone for something. So if that person with 9 marbles is winning something, you have to also get something out of it. But I think one person will win, the other person will have to lose. It makes absolutely no sense.
But I think the issue is the depth within which it's taught. Like I don't know if you have sort of, I've never heard of economics GCSE lessons. But I studied economics at A level, and because of the depth that it went to, and because I studied politics as well and French and psychology and stuff, there was a kind of a cohesiveness there. So if you're teaching someone economics and saying you win, you lose, you win, you lose, without understanding some of the basic structure within which you're even engaging in that sort of voluntary trade, you just make people think, oh, capitalism is evil. Yet your father is picking you up in a brand new Range Rover. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, it's completely baffling. So
yeah,
I definitely think the education system is one of the things that stand out. I want to understand your take on this whole identity politics thing. I mean, I feel like identity politics, maybe there are slight variations in different countries. Obviously, with the US, race relations in the US are far. I shouldn't say more complex, but they're more complex in the US than here, than the UK. So yeah, especially with the whole Meghan thing, when they try to transpose that, oh, it's because she's black.
And the press is racist.
And it's
where
just like
was
that.
press ever racist?
But the thing is, it's even like the whole she's black, it's like that one drop rule. And for me, it's just, Meghan Markle's not black.
I know, she's as black as she's white.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if I met Meghan Markle, I would think she was Puerto Rican or Spanish.
Yep.
You know, and it's just because we don't have that sort of relationship with, I suppose, the black race, in the sense that if you're half black, that means you're black. Like the same way in the US, which is a grievance of mine, but to put aside. So how do you think identity politics actually, functions in this country, and how do you think that relates to the left and how they're trying to weaponize it in Britain?
Well, I mean, identity politics or identity in general is always inside us because we are, as creatures, humans are tribal.
Yeah, exactly.
Always tribal. But it comes out in this form that we are seeing in the US, Canada, in the UK, and Western Europe. Yeah, because when humans, the point of life that's survival. The first instinct is to just survive, and then the rest of it comes, security and happiness, everything else that we do, and purpose, which is having a career or family. Now, historically speaking, in places, lands, or countries where priority for humans is either survival, it's like wars happening or something's happening, or finding purpose, which is actually economic issues or third world. I need to find food,
family,
get
hygiene,
jobs.
sanity,
So when they have those priorities, they just focus on those. But humans, when everything's relatively okay and stable in a country, in society, then our tribal instincts somehow think, well, we're still tribal. We need to find the problem.
Yeah.
So they go back to identity. So identity politics is growing in the West because everything else is fine.
Yeah.
So all these spoiled kids basically say, okay, now we have to find the problem. So they go around and do some things like this, which is absolutely ridiculous. So,
I mean, I think one of the most telling phenomena of things like this that have happened recently is the whole Lawrence Fox thing.
yeah.
How can you say, oh God, I can't even begin to describe the lunacy of that, because here we have a non-black female saying that Meghan Markle, who is not black, but could be Spanish in her racial origins, that a white guy shouldn't speak of the non-racism with which she faced, because he's like, I don't even understand where to draw the line on the ridiculousness, because I think we've gotten to a point where, even in the tribal politics, pushing it to the ideological conclusion of it is not even making sense. Like, if you're saying that someone cannot speak on behalf of on an issue because of their race or whatever, why are you allowed to speak of it when you're not even of that race? That doesn't even make sense.
I mean, you mentioned Lawrence Fox. What happened was, on the night, I wasn't actually watching Question Time, but I was looking at Twitter and everyone was like kicking off.
As well,
And then, but the way they were kicking off, I thought, oh my God, so this person went on this panel, he probably said really bad things.
Exactly.
I watched it in the morning. He didn't say anything bad. Genuinely speaking, we've had more controversial figures on Question Time and other places in general. He basically, all he did was just like shaking his head and being frustrated when someone said something ridiculous about identity politics and being the woke culture. He just showed his reaction to it. And he actually, even with the whole Meghan and Harry question, he started by saying, actually, I feel sorry for them, I feel for them, that they're in this situation. He was defending them, and he said, oh, by the way, what they did against the family, against duty was wrong. That's all he did. And when he was asked, which Labour candidate would you want to be leader, and what was best, he said Keir Starmer. And then you have Shami next to him saying, what about the women?
What about the women? I was like, aren't you fighting for equality?
But his response wasn't bad. If he had his response, it would have been very out there, oh yeah, but I don't trust women. That would have been bad. But all he did was why does that matter? Why does gender matter? That's all he said. How is that bad? I don't get it.
I think that's the gender ideologues have kind of lost the plot a little bit in that sense.
Which is good.
But
they're losing anyway. So.
Gracefully. The woman that kind of said, as a white male, she's a university lecturer. This is what blows my mind. But this is what I find utterly insane. And I think it's just, I'm genuinely, it doesn't make me upset because of the stupidity of it all, because I have better things to occupy my time. It infuriates me because it's extremely condescending.
Yes.
It's either you have the floor open for everyone to debate because we all live in a civil society, or you say, actually, only this group of people that it directly affects can speak of it. I don't expect you as a non-black woman to come and tell me that a non-black woman is being racially discriminated against, and therefore you are defending me as an actual black woman. That is complete lunacy.
Well, because for them, they're not there to, they say that they are protecting certain groups, whether it's based on gender or the working class or the poor, but in reality, they're not. What happens is, for example, if a working class person gets a good job or a career and makes some money, they no longer are working class. If a woman decides not to be a feminist, you're no longer a woman, a real woman. If a brown guy says, I believe in the British values, I'm not a brown person anymore. So it's not necessarily about what they say, that they're protecting everybody, for the many, not the few.
It's just actually virtue signaling, really.
It's for our many. That's what they say, not the many. That's the problem.
I mean, I think I want to ask you about this because I assume it's a bit closer to home. But with the whole killing of Qasem Soleimani, who I hope I'm saying his name.
Great guy.
Yeah, he's a dear friend. How? I don't want to put words in your mouth. What did you think? Because I have an opinion on this, but what did you personally think of the media reaction and just, I feel like the most vocal people were obviously the woke left of Hollywood in the US, but there were a fair number of UK celebrities that kind of lost their minds as well. I mean, Lily Allen is always holding the flag for the world's stupidest. But, what did you think of sort of the media reaction and the reaction of sort of the left-wing pockets of this country?
I think I would have been surprised if it was a few years ago, but after what we've seen with people like Corbyn and Lily Allen, when we kill bin Laden or al-Baghdadi, they come out and say, we shouldn't have killed them, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we should have put them on trial. What are we
trying?
What?
Arrest them. You have a right to remain silent.
Exactly.
But because of those things that happened recently, I wasn't actually completely shocked. I was like, typical. But the reaction where what the left-wing media were doing, they, in order to attack Trump or the West, the action, not only they were defending Soleimani and General Soleimani and the regime, but they were doing that in their head, thinking they're actually defending the Iranian people, and as if the Iranian people were upset that Soleimani died.
Happy with Soleimani.
Yeah, in reality, the Iranian people hated that guy.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people in the West didn't know who he was. I and people like me obviously knew him for like 15, 20 years, and he's been doing a lot of bad things in Iran anyway. So for ordinary people in Iran, there were people on the streets with posters on Trump saying, "Thank you, President."
Yeah.
So, but the people on the left were thinking, if you kill a general of a dictatorship, that basically means you have killed a representative of the people.
Yeah, you've killed Mike Pence. I was like,
it's not the same.
Not the same thing. But I mean, I just want to ask you a last question before I kind of ask you what the ladies of YouTube really want to know.
Oh dear.
You know, get ready, prepare yourself. Looking ahead, where do you think sort of not just Britain but the US are going to go with this whole sort of left-right woke versus sane? The sane rest of society are going to go. I mean, how do you think things are going to pan out in terms of just Brexit, Britain looking forward, and you know, Trump and this whole impeachment nonsense and everything else?
And as I said, there's a cycle, and we are now going the other way around in terms of, for the past 10, 15, 20 years, it was the woke side that were slowly coming up because everything, as I said, because everything was strong and stable, everything was like relatively good. The majority of societies in the UK, US are middle class. They came up and they said, let's cause some trouble. But now, because they are going too far, obviously people on the right, political right, are kicking off. But a lot of ordinary people who are not even political, they are getting sick and tired of people like Greta Thunberg or people like, you know, Lily Allen telling them what to do and how to live. And so regardless of, you know, what area we're talking about, like veganism, gender stuff, race stuff, anything, they are going so far that they're actually alienating ordinary people. The moment they lose ordinary people out there, the support or the neutrality of them, then they're going to be gone again. Yeah. I mean, it's never going to go away.
I mean, conservatism is now the counterculture, which is weird.
Which is really weird. I meet so many young people who were either on the left, now they're right wing, or they were not political. They just happened to join the right wing groups. I'm like, this is weird. Yeah, there was a time when I was at university, no one cared about politics.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is what we're going through. So there's going to be a time when, especially this generation of the new one, generation
Z or something.
I think it's Z.
Which is quite conservative actually.
Absolutely. So they're going to grow up and replace the millennials in the 20s and 30s, and then it's going to be slightly quiet for the next couple of decades. Then it's going to come back. So it's a cycle.
Make all the noise of identity politics. Well, thank you very much, Maya. I have the questions that people really want to know now. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so if you, like me, have been scrolling through Maya's YouTube channel, going through his YouTube videos and seeing very inappropriate comments by, I'm assuming, single women out there, I am going to do you all a favor and ask the questions you really want to know of Maya. So Maya, are you single?
I am.
Okay. How old are you?
Well, let's do this. Right. I'm 31.
Oh my gosh.
What's your favourite colour?
I know. What's your favourite colour?
Black.
Okay. Blonde or brunette?
Ooh.
Oh, yes.
Both.
Oh, he's open. Oh my gosh.
Inclusive.
Okay. Feminist or non-feminist?
Non-feminist.
Really? I don't think many feminists watch your videos. It's like, any pet peeves? Female pet peeves? Ooh.
Vegans? No. Well.
I know you meant that, so I'm just...
Neediness. But, yeah.
Neediness. Oh, don't be needy, ladies. Don't be needy. Don't drop them 72 missed calls, like some people out here. All right, well, that's everything. I don't want to go anything else. I feel like we'll get banned on YouTube. So, But thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thanks.